Day 2 of Formula 1 2021 winter testing is complete, and with Valtteri Bottas for Mercedes topping the timesheets at the end of Day 2, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at every team's performance and just how good they're looking at the start of the 2021 season. As always, if you are new, feel free to subscribe. We're going to be changing up just a little bit how we do the video today, so feedback would be very much appreciated. Hit that like button if you do enjoy, but let's take a look at some of these times, because it was Valtteri Bottas that finished top overall, a fastest time of testing so far with a 1:30.289 on the C5 tyres, but that really doesn't paint the full picture for Mercedes today, with Valtteri's teammate Lewis Hamilton all the way down in 15th place, second to last, with his own issues in the morning session, a spin into the gravel, work to do for the Mercedes team. That car looks like a real handful to drive. Yesterday we saw a gearbox issue for Valtteri in the morning. Thankfully, he was able to do 58 laps this afternoon, along with 58 for Lewis in the morning session as well. But for a team that was so used to everything running so smoothly in testing, this car really does seem to be a bit of a diva. Valtteri running wide several times in the afternoon. As I mentioned, Lewis with that spin bringing out the red flag in the morning session. It's just very uncharacteristically Mercedes. And when you consider Mercedes are the team with the least amount of laps completed of any team so far in the winter testing period, technically they're the hardest to predict where they're going to finish this season, but I think we can all hazard a guess they're going to be near the top. They're going to be fighting for the title, but on today's timings, which you should never read too much into, it was very close with AlphaTauri, very close with Aston Martin, all on the C5 tyres, but with the likes of Red Bull, Sergio Perez in 8th place on the C2 tyres, Ricciardo 9th on the C3 tyres, maybe it's not going to be such plain sailing for Mercedes this year. In second place in today's session was Pierre Gasly. Yuki Tsunoda also ran for AlphaTauri in the morning session, and overall today, AlphaTauri, one of the biggest surprises of testing so far. Again, never read too much into testing, but for a team that once again today did over 100 laps, 87 for Pierre Gasly, 57 for Yuki Tsunoda. And though on the final lap times, they don't really count, Gasly only a 10th away from Valtteri, yes, that looks good, but that doesn't really mean anything. What does really mean something is the race runs, especially Pierre Gasly, just after lunchtime, the start of the afternoon session, where Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc, all at pretty much identical times, went out together on similar tyre compounds, if not the exact same, all doing race runs, all completing a similar amount of laps, about 30 or 40 between all three. And Pierre Gasly consistently was about half a second quicker than them both. Again, this is testing, and it could be very much plausible that Alonso had more fuel, that Charles Leclerc wasn't in the highest engine mode possible. But at the same time, during a test like that, a long run, race preparation test, that is very promising for AlphaTauri. Once again, no spins for that car. Looks really stable. Looks nice and nimble through some of the high speed and low speed corners. But more importantly, no reliability issues, which is something we can't say for most of the teams on today's grid. Another really solid running for Yuki Tsunoda. No spins for a rookie, the only rookie not to spin so far. Really good job from Yuki, putting in some solid laps. Not too many today, 57, but it's a nice amount, especially when he's trying to build up for tomorrow's final day of testing, where I will imagine he will do a few more C5 runs. His best run today was on the C4 tyre, but AlphaTauri, very much my stars of day 2. It was Lance Stroll in P3, but the big story was his teammate, Sebastian Vettel's 16th place, just 10 laps completed. Thankfully, Lance Stroll put in a whopping 70 laps. Fair play to Stroll. Gasly likewise in the afternoon, really pounding in some fantastic race run performance. Stroll very close to Bottas's time, but it was that gearbox issue for Sebastian Vettel. Very similar to what we saw with Mercedes yesterday. We also saw an issue with Vettel's car yesterday as well. And reliability is something we've come so used to Mercedes being so good, but so far in testing, especially in Seb Vettel's car, things haven't quite gone to plan. There's still one more day tomorrow. Seb is still due to do half a session, but work to be done on that Aston Martin car. But the overall pace, it seems good. Right in the mix with the likes of McLaren, Alpine, AlphaTauri, and maybe Ferrari. We'll get onto those in a moment's time. It was Lando Norris in 4th place, 2/10 away from Valtteri Bottas's best time, but on a compound harder than Valtteri Bottas. 52 laps in the afternoon session for Lando, with his teammate Daniel Ricciardo 9th place for the Australian driver, 1.9 seconds off Valtteri Bottas's time. However, on the C3 tyres in the morning session as well, so colder temperatures on that circuit at the particular time. What a lap. What an effort from Daniel Ricciardo. He seems to be fitting into that team so well, almost effortlessly. Who would expect anything less from Danny Rick himself? 52 laps for him, over 100 again for McLaren today. Once again, looking super strong with their pace in both quali and race runs, which is even more crucial. And actually, it wouldn't surprise me all that much if they were pushing on the door of Red Bull by the time we get to Bahrain. Again, it's just winter testing. Take everything with a pinch of salt, but no issues at all for McLaren yet. Something we are so not used to during winter testing. And an extra little nice cherry on top for the team is their brand new diffuser. And many of you will know I am not the most technical expert in the world of Formula 1, but right on the rear of the car, under the rear wing, under the floor, is the diffuser. And McLaren have very strategically found a little loophole in the regulations, have come up with a very eccentric diffuser, but it seems legal. It seems it's causing a bit of a fuss amongst some of the other teams, and it seems McLaren have struck gold here. Will that mean they're fighting for the title? Unlikely. It's possible, but I don't want to get too carried away with winter testing day 2. But I do think it'll give them that extra little edge over that midfield group. And also so far with their new implementation of the Mercedes power unit, of all the Mercedes teams, McLaren have been the ones with the least issues, which is fantastic for them. I'm sure they were slightly nervous there would be 1 or 2 issues, and actually it's never a terrible thing having a couple of issues in testing. Get them in and out the way now, rather than having them in the first couple of races of the season. But what a great start for the McLaren team, a team that I was a little nervous about after the end of last year. A great end to the season, but I just wondered if they'd be able to keep that up for this year, and so far they're perhaps going even further than they have over the last couple of years. A great start to winter testing. Alfa Romeo's Antonio Giovinazzi was P5, 0.4 off the time of Valtteri Bottas, 124 laps for Antonio today. A very quiet session again for Alfa Romeo. No spins, no issues, cracking on with it. Putting in the laps is exactly what they need to do, and they've got the new upgraded Ferrari engine, which today across all the Ferrari teams, no issues whatsoever. So happy days, hunky-dory, down at Alfa Romeo. Ferrari themselves, Charles Leclerc 6th. And what is going on here? Because, yes, again, the fastest time slower than the Alfa Romeo of Giovinazzi on the same tyres. Leclerc only did the afternoon session with Carlos Sainz in the morning session. Sainz's time also on the C3 tyres all the way down in 13th place, doing 56 laps. But again, more importantly for Ferrari, isn't the final lap time. It's putting in the laps themselves, trying out this engine, stress testing this engine as best they can. And across all 3 Ferrari teams today, over 300 laps completed. So a great effort that none of them had any issues so far. Yes, there was an issue yesterday with Leclerc in the morning, but I think so far, so good. The pace on that car, I mentioned it earlier with Pierre Gasly, slightly worrying in terms of race pace and long run pace. Leclerc just couldn't match Pierre, but again, it could just be fuel loads, could just be engine modes. Don't read too much into that just yet, but still a few question marks. I don't think they're going to be back at the front like some people were hoping this season. I would love to be wrong, but from what we can tell so far, it's not looking fantastic. Behind Charles Leclerc, Nicholas Latifi, who had an eventful day, bless him. Several spins, a huge slide down the hill coming out of the exit of turn 7 and 8. Completely tore the tyres to shreds, bless him. Managed to get back into the pit lane. A good bit of running in the afternoon. Another spin, unluckily for him. 7th place isn't dreadful. And actually, Williams, a team very similar to McLaren, we're so used to them having reliability issues, making the headlines for all the wrong reasons. But apart from those 2 spins and an incredible 132 laps, a quiet day for the Williams team. But a team where things were a little bit all over the place at the end of the day today was Red Bull Racing. A best lap time of just 1.3 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas on a tyre 3 compounds heavier, 3 compounds harder than Valtteri Bottas. C2 for Checo, C5 for Valtteri. That's mega stuff. But I think what's more mega, 117 laps, no mechanical issues whatsoever, except, and it's quite a big except, the engine cover flying off Sergio Perez's Red Bull. Certainly something you don't see every day, and luckily Checo was able to get back out relatively quickly after a brief red flag session. But still alarming that an engine cover can fly off halfway through a session, but Checo himself, a slight wise moment in the morning, but apart from that, really nothing to complain about. Really solid running. Is this the driver Red Bull have been looking for? I really do believe it is. And today, really smooth running, solid running, doing exactly what the team needed him to do. A great start in Checo's first proper day as a Red Bull driver. Another man making his debut with a team, well, return I suppose it is, to a team, Fernando Alonso making his full return to Formula 1. Lots of returns there. Return of the king, as many people are suggesting. Alpine, another solid day. Really quiet, really starting to feel like dark horses this year, along with AlphaTauri. I would say AlphaTauri are my proper pick for dark horses for 2021, but Alpine are close. C2 tyres, 2 seconds of Valtteri Bottas' time on the C5s, so very respectable from Fernando today, but 127 laps completed, no mechanical issues, no spins, but then this is Fernando Alonso we're talking about. Surely he wouldn't be spinning in a Formula 1 weekend. And there's not much else to say, which at this stage of the year is kind of what you want. No reliability issues, no driver mistakes, happy days at Alpine. And our final team to discuss today is Haas F1. A team, as we all know, are going to struggle this year, that have publicly come out and said they will not be upgrading their car at all after this winter testing weekend. I think both drivers are going to have a real handful trying to get any performance out of the car this year. Williams, Alfa Romeo seem to have a more comfortable package overall than the Haas this year, and the decision to hire 2 rookies leaves the team without experience, which for me is fine if they're not planning to upgrade the car at all this year, but just gives you a few question marks in who's going to help build and lead that technical role next season for 2022. No experience with their reserve driver really either, Pietro Fittipaldi, but I suppose he has done more Formula 1 Grand Prix than either of their drivers in Schumacher and Mazepin. But just like Alpine, no major incidents to report today. Schumacher had a bit of a incident, shall we say, during his practice pit stop, hitting the jack man. But in all fairness to Mick, it seemed like it was a jack failure rather than him going too early or his own driver mistake. So I wouldn't worry too much there. But apart from that, solid laps from both drivers. And that about concludes today's session. Tomorrow, George Russell finally gets a turn. He is the only driver that has not stepped in a car this weekend, bless him, but he will finally be able to show us what he's made of in 2021. Both Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Aston Martin, Alpine, Ferrari, AlphaTauri, Haas drivers will be in the car. It's only Russell for Williams and only Kimi Räikkönen for Alfa Romeo. Thank you all very much for watching. If you are new, feel free to subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow rounding up your final day of winter testing. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.